Welcome to the Loveland All Sports Podcast, where the land of love can get updates on not only Loveland sports, but learn and discuss many sports topics. Shoot any ideas you want to lovelandallsports@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook at the Loveland All Sports Pod. Loveland All Sports Pod is sponsored by Meredith DeWitt of Brittany Fritz Realty, Loveland's #1 boutique brokerage. Contact Meredith for any of your real estate needs at meredithbfteam@gmail.com. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted you to know what's wrong with our media and society today. I had my first drama as a booming sports media host. One of our local Facebook pages, Positively Tigers, has decided that they will not promote our show because of our lead sponsor, Meredith DeWitt of Brittany Fritz Realty. They are censoring and choosing what they can post based on their employer and not what is positive to the community. How petty is this? Because nothing screams positively like all the coaches we've had and all they do for our kids in school. And let's not forget the positive power couple, Randy Rico and John Hart. They always say negative press is a boost. Well, here's my chance. Positive Tigers, good luck with that approach. This episode is great for all sports fans with children, regardless of where they go to school. Head trainer with Loveland High School, Tara Eisenacher. She talks about what it takes to be a trainer, long hours, the heat, the best course of action when your student athlete has an injury, and we have some fun in the smoking seat. So please sit back and enjoy this positive conversation with Tara the Tiger Trainer. All right, well, good morning. Hello, Tara. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. We are privileged here today to be talking with Tara Eisenacher, Loveland Tigers head trainer for our high school, and even gets down into coaching along with the middle school. I've had the opportunity to, fortunately and unfortunately, work with Tara with some of my other children with some injuries and things like that. But I wanted to get Tara on here today to help talk a little bit about what she does and educate the community on why we do things. And it's ironic that we're doing that on a day-to-day where it's going to be a heat index of 97, and she had to make some tough decisions. So welcome. Thank you, Tara.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So first of all, like I start everything out, where are you from? And talk a little bit about your family.
I am Cincinnati, born and raised. I grew up in Mount Healthy. I went to Roger Bacon High School and then went to Ohio State, Ohio University for college. And then I came back, and now I live in Reading with my husband and our 1.5-year-old daughter.
Awesome. Awesome. Are you able to balance the work-life balance and seeing her as much as you'd like?
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning curve. That is one of the perks of my role is I come in after school to work with our athletics teams. So I get to be home in the morning. So it's kind of like, half the day I get to stay home and be mom. And then the other half, I get to come do the job I love and let dad do bedtime and the hard parts.
Well, as she's only 1.5. So as she gets older, she'll probably enjoy coming to a late afternoon volleyball game or, soccer match.
She's made a couple visits, and the kids always ask to see her, but she's kind of into everything right now. So once she's a little bit bigger, she can come hang out on the sidelines.
Right. Yeah. When she gets older. That's awesome. So were you an athlete growing up at Mount Healthy?
I was
or
a runner.
You went to Bacon.
Roger Bacon. So I ran track, kind of that middle distance, 400, 800, long jump. That's kind of where I learned about athletic training. I met Melanie, our longtime AT at Bacon, learned a little bit more about what she does, thought it was really cool, and kind of pursued it from there. I'm not as athletic as I'd like to be, but I'm a big sports fan, and I like to be around it. And
well, being a runner, it's neat because you can do that for the rest of your life. It's you can't, once football ends, it's usually over. Other sports, you can have pickup games and whatnot, but you can always get back into it at any time.
Yeah.
So why Ohio State? So that was your undergrad was Ohio State, and grad school was OU?
Correct.
Right.
So when I went through, athletic training was a bachelor's program, 4-year degree. Just in the past few years, it switched to a master's.
Okay.
So now it's a 5 or 6-year degree before you can get certified. So knowing that, I kind of intended to go ahead and to get my master's right all the way through instead of having a gap and going back just to keep up. But yeah, Ohio State has a very strong, obviously, athletics program, but with that, a very strong athletic training program. A lot of great mentors and opportunities to learn. The big thing with athletic training is you learn from a book, but you got to get hands-on to learn things. And what better opportunity than a school like that? And it was, Roger Bacon's a small school. If you don't know, I graduated with a little over 100 kids. Right. So I was ready to be
thrown into the
I was ready for the big school. the beauty of athletic training is I had about 20 kids in my program. So although I was in a massive campus, I had a small core group to kind of come back to. And it was far enough away from without being too terribly far.
Right.
So it just kind of checked all the boxes. It was a great experience. And then because I was certified after my bachelor's degree, I got a graduate assistant program. That's why I ended up at OU. So I was actually working. I did a year at Warren High School, which is like almost in West Virginia. And then I did a year at Athens High School as their athletic trainer while I got my master's in athletic training. Great. So that was a neat opportunity too.
So you got to work with everyone probably wants to hear. You probably worked with Ohio State Buckeye football.
I did.
Was that fun?
It was a very good learning experience. It solidified that I have no desire to work at that level because it is
the hours.
It's high intensity, high hours, high commitment. I mean, it's amazing what those college kids do. So I was there in the Urban Meyer era and Braxton Miller era. So each student, we were there mostly as kind of water girls, but they did let us tape and, learn alongside the football staff, athletic trainers. But we were all assigned a group. So I was assigned the offensive line, which is, couldn't have picked it better. At first I was like, you want me with these giant men? But they were just awesome, sweet guys, learned a lot. It was fun to watch them learn and grow. And then my group, the year that I was with them, 4 out of 5 got drafted or made a pretty good NFL career for themselves. So it was pretty neat to be like, yep, I was his water girl. I taped his wrists. I got him. But
well, that's got to be fun. I know in college, I witnessed the trainers, they were there at 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and then we're leaving at 5:30 at night, and they're still there. And, they went away to school or to class, I should say, but then they came back, and then it was like they never left.
Yeah.
Did you ever get water thrown on you by a mad lineman? I mean, I can remember times where it's like.
There may have been a few choice words with it. I had a lineman, sometimes linemen. This one primarily spoke in grunts, right? There wasn't a lot of verbal exchange with him, but I learned what his grunts meant. And he was normally a Gatorade guy, so I'd have the Gatorade ready for him when he came out. And must have misinterpreted the grunt one time, and I handed him the Gatorade, and he sprayed it all over his face because he thought it was water, and he threw it back at me. I just handed him the water and walked away.
That's hilarious.
I thought I knew what your grunts meant. Sorry, bud.
Did you get to travel anywhere fun with the games or the bowl games?
So I was there kind of as my first year in the program. And so we each got to go to one away game. So I got to take a lovely bus ride to go watch us play the Fighting Illini down to Illinois. And it was a really cool experience just to see like the production that goes into it. I mean, even now I'm packing for an away game on a Friday night, and that's nothing compared to the equipment they take, the trailers full of gear, and obviously the players are on the plane, but we're on the buses and driving the trailers and
people
getting there first and getting everything set up, getting the locker rooms ready. And so it was a very cool learning experience. I also we got to see multiple programs. So my year-long kind of internship year as a student, I was with the track and field program, which I could definitely appreciate. Excellent athletes. And it was cool, again, just to see the work they put in all year long on top of being a student. I mean, obviously with athletic training too, there were a lot of hours put in. But if you looked like our class schedule, it would be like, oh my gosh, you only have class 3 days a week. It's like, yeah, but I'm doing 60 hours of free labor and my clinical hours.
Hands-on. I'm
but
not
that's where
reading
you
a
learn.
book.
I mean, that's where I saw my first fracture. It's where I called 911 for the first time. You just got to learn by doing. And so I'll never forget the poor guy at football who had a diagnosed ACL tear, and they were just letting the students one by one go see, here's what a torn ACL feels like, but that's the only way to learn. So I'm very appreciative for that opportunity. But it confirmed that I am more suited for the high school setting. I kind of thought that's where I wanted to be anyways, but college is a whole different beast. So
well, that's great. Well, congrats for doing what you were set out to do.
Thank you.
And I've lived this firsthand with one of my kids. Talk a little bit about the process for injuries and, encouraging the student athlete to come see you first as opposed to going to the doctor.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the really unique parts of athletic training is we are, sports medicine. We are not doctors, but we are part of that sports medicine team. And the unique thing being we're on site. we're on campus. We don't have to make an appointment. We don't bill you. It's just we're here to basically help facilitate your care. And obviously our resources are a little more limited. I can't do an X-ray or an MRI or things like that, but we learn a lot about anatomy and a lot about what is normal so that we have a good idea of what is abnormal. And maybe I can't, 100% certainty diagnose something, but I can have a pretty good idea of might be a possible ligament injury, or it could, it looks like you're having some joint instability, or something that it's like, okay, we need to go to the emergency room, or we need to get you in with ortho this week, or we could give it a week or two and try some rehab type exercises and see if that works. So like I said, we're really here to just help facilitate care. And sometimes the answer is, I don't know, we need to go talk to doc, but we can at least help avoid sitting in the urgent care line for 4 hours just for them to say, oh, it's just an ankle sprain, do these exercises. Here's, we have the crutches, the boots, the rehab equipment. So we can't do it all, but we can do a whole lot, even just within our facilities at the high school, which is kind of special. A lot of times we are right there when it happens, which again is kind of a unique part of our role, is kind of being that first responder in a way. But even if we're not right there, even if it happens, off campus or at a game we aren't at or something like that, you can see us normally within, 12 to 24 hours, no appointment needed, come see us, and then we can help you. Where do we need to go from here?
Right. It's so important for everybody to know. I mean, I've gone through it with I think probably all my kids. I can't think of Zoe having anything, but to be able to not go to an urgent care, to trust the trainers, to listen to them. When Zach subluxed his kneecap his junior year, there was no one on the planet more mad than me, because here my boy is going to be the starting varsity tackle against Meredith and I's alma mater at Sycamore. And he had a subluxed kneecap, and get him in. He's going to play. And Tara looked at me and said, no, he's not. And I had to trust you. And you explained to me that the quad is like 4 Clydesdales. And if one of those, the Clydesdales aren't in sync right now, it's like you have a pony and 2 Clydesdales and then a pony, and it's going to do it worse where he might dislocate it. And having that trust athletic program, where if I would have went to bypassed you and went to a doctor, they probably would have told me he's out of sports for 8 weeks.
Very possible.
You got him back on the field in 4 weeks, and he had a great junior year and even better senior year, well, minus COVID. And he still got chances to play college football.
Yeah. So, and more importantly, he left high school without having a knee surgery.
Correct. 100%.
So, yeah. I mean, obviously, everyone's goal is to have the kids out there. We want it just as much as everyone else, but we also want to keep the kids out of the operating room. We want to keep the kids as healthy as possible, as safe as possible. And that may mean missing 1 or 2 games, but in the long run, 1 or 2 games versus a whole year, 1 or 2 games versus a season-ending surgery, it's not always easy. I'd say that's one of the hardest parts of the job, because especially the kids, the parents, the coaches, like we all want to see them out there. And football is really unique with that. Like, it's a short season. You have 10 guaranteed games, and that's it.
Right.
And there's no wiggle room when it comes to that, but it's sometimes the best thing you can do is miss 1 week and be healthy the other 9.
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense. And it's definitely, I spent 24 years in medical device, and I can tell you, just because a doctor has an MD or a DO next to their name does not mean they're doing the right thing. They may just check the box and say, they're out 6 to 8 weeks and come back and we'll reassess, where our trainers can really give you an honest assessment. So that's awesome. So it's ironic that we're meeting today on a day that's going to be a heat index of 97, and it's almost September. Talk a little bit about the limits on practicing and playing and how that's determined with the high heat, high humidity.
Yeah. So this is the part of our job that I think people don't think about. But we plan for all these potential emergency scenarios. And if you've paid attention to any news around sports, the top 2 killers of athletes are sudden cardiac arrest and heat. And fortunately, you don't see it as much as you used to, but heat illness can be fatal and quickly. And so, it's soft, it's whatever. It's truly a life or death situation. And that's not to be dramatic. But so what we do is we basically just follow the guidelines. There's no set law that we just do this. There's guidelines that we take from the National Federation of High School Sports, from the OHSAA, from the NATA, which is the National Athletic Trainers Organization. We kind of take all of these recommendations and put them into a practice that works for our school and for our community. We are kind of just recently have switched over. We used to do heat index. That's been the gold standard. And now we do what's called a wet bulb globe temperature. So we have a real fancy device. And basically what that does is it takes the air temperature, the radiant heat off of the turf or whatever surface we're on, the humidity, the wind, if there's shade or not, which you've been up in Tiger Stadium, there is not. And
Correct.
so it takes all of those factors because us sitting here on the shade in a patio with a nice breeze is going to feel a lot different than sitting on top of that hill in the full sun on that turf. So that gives us a number, and there's a chart that goes along with it that has recommendations, colored coded of we can be out for X amount of time, this many water breaks. For football especially, you can have equipment on or just helmets, no equipment at all. And so we knew this week was going to be a tough one. Right. If you remember last season, this week, we ended up even pushing back our kickoff on Friday night because of heat.
That's right.
So here we are again, week 2, looking at a heat wave. And what we know is middle of the afternoon is the hottest part of the day. That's when we like to practice. So yesterday, being the coolest of the hot days, we hovered right in kind of the orange, dipping into the red zones, which orange is where we can't be in full pads for football, maximum 2 hours with water breaks every 30 minutes, lots of rest, making sure that the kids are getting a chance to cool down, hydrate. So we were able to do that yesterday with just helmets on. But, today, it's going to be even hotter. Right. And we're worried about being in the red, which is where max practice time is an hour, no conditioning, no gear, basically a walkthrough, really light, lots of water breaks, and then black, which is no go at all. So in a way, it makes it easy. We use the technology. We use the best practice recommendations from those organizations. But we've talked with our coaches. We've talked with Mr. Bruce, the AD, and kind of just put together of what's the safest thing to do here? What's the smartest thing to do here? And so for football, I told coach, I said, if you want to put pads on, it's going to have to be early in the morning, late in the evening, or we're going to have to see if we can find us an indoor facility with air conditioning because it's not safe. And like I said, it can happen really quickly that a kid goes down and it can turn serious really fast. So we still prepare. We have water out, we have ice. Rapid cooling is the best thing if something happens. So we have the cold tubs ready to go. Right. If someone's starting to show signs, we just throw them in and lower their core temperature. But the best thing we can do is try to avoid it entirely. Wow. It's hard, but luckily our coaches are really receptive of just tell us what we need to do. And we'll use our great weight room. We'll use our, we'll find a shady park to run in. We'll do whatever we have to do to make sure our kids stay safe. So it helps to have the whole community buy in, even though it's not what anyone wants. It's just what we're dealt.
Right. Well, the good news is it's obviously the best thing for the kid. If numbers are dropping of heat-related injuries and cardiac incidents, then we're doing something right. I mean, I can sit here and be old school and say I'm 52 and we had towels with ammonia and water on them. They drained over our heads and they gave us this Exceed drink and told us to suck it up. And, that's absolutely wrong. But the other good thing is if other schools are following the same guidelines, they're in the same boat.
Right.
So they're not practicing as much as they would. But also getting my kid up this morning at 5 o'clock to get to school by 5:25 to have him get dressed and ready and be at the field by 6. That was a character building moment too. So there is some silver lining behind this. And I'm sure he's looking forward to an easy evening tonight, but he'll have to get up and do it again tomorrow. So
absolutely
appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of people just think the coaches aren't doing what's needed to be done. They're copping out. The trainer's mean, the trainer's making a decision. And that's why I wanted you to share that, that there is a process. So, and same type of, with talking about student athletes help, this time of year on both sides of the ball, on varsity and freshman and JV this weekend, there was a lot of cramping. What's the best way for a kid to prevent or to not have as many cramps?
Hydration is a big piece. And I think that's the piece that people are most aware of. And so they're honestly the best about treating or managing. And so that's water and electrolytes, not just straight water. And that is not 30 minutes before the game. That's ideally the day before all day before you play, the night before, especially those Saturday mornings. You're not going to have a chance to drink a gallon of water before a 9 a.m. Saturday game. But if you've been hydrating all day Friday, you're going to be in a better spot. So that's a big piece. Nutrition is a piece that I think is often overlooked because our muscles need fuel. Carbs are energy, protein is strength. And if we don't have those, our muscles start to break down. That's what exercise is muscles breaking down and then building back stronger. But if they break down too much, that's what happens. They start to lock up and say, I'm done. The other thing is, not the easy fix, but like I said, it's you got to break down the muscles to build them back stronger. So there's a fatigue component to it also. Yeah. And that's not something so much that you can do once the season's here, but that's the importance of those preseason and summer workouts as much as, maybe it's not, you don't want to spend your summer working out, but it does make a big difference. Or even we got basketball kids coming in, like who's thinking about basketball in August? Well, it does benefit you because it builds those muscles up now to be prepared for the high level activity. So thinking way long term, it's the way you condition, the way you train, listening to our smart coaches at the high school that are there to help us through that. And then in the season, in the activity, it's the hydration and the nutrition and the recovery, sleep, rest. I know we talked about nice early morning practices. I'm hoping that means these boys are getting a little bit of an early bedtime or maybe even taking a nap through the afternoon. But, your body needs to recover or it's just going to continue to break down and it'll catch up to you.
Yeah, there's nothing worse. Obviously, injuries are unfortunate, but they're part of sports. But there's nothing worse than seeing a kid miss a quarter or a half because they had a cramp.
Because they can't stop cramping.
And they cramp up and then they're pulled out and then they're not 100% when they come back. If you've ever had a cramp, it's not the case. So
they'll think they're through it and then they try to run and they're like, no, I'm going down.
Well, especially this quick twitch, the running back, I don't call them skilled position because linemen are skilled people too. Right. Making a quick twitch move is going to get that muscle to trigger, which is going to promote a cramp, so it happens in places. Awesome. Well, you told me you heard some of my past podcasts, so I'm sure you practiced this, but you are now entering Josh's smoking seat. So I've got 9-10 questions here. I just want to let the listeners get a fun way to get to know you a little more. So Skyline or Gold Star?
Skyline.
LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan.
All right. Did you stay on the Bengals bus for the 31 years of no playoff wins?
Bengals all the way.
All right, great. When you eat corn on the cob, are you a typewriter or a rotator?
I'm a typewriter.
Good. All right. And I have what's called corn time, where I eat the entire corn on the cob at that moment, and then I go back to the other. Do you put the corn down?
Yeah. No. Once it's up, because you got to get the butter. You're making a mess. Just
your face, right.
Typewriter all the way through.
Typewriter, right. Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
What's your first concert?
I think Jesse McCartney.
Jesse McCartney. Yeah. All right, good. When you're making cereal, do you put the milk in the bowl first or the cereal first?
It has to be cereal first.
Milk first.
That doesn't even make sense.
For crunchy cereal, if you like crunchy cereal, the milk first and then it floats to the top. I'm starting a revolution.
I guess I'll try it.
Try it. Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus?
Tiger.
And have you met any famous athletes? You talked about some guys who got drafted.
Yeah, name drop a little bit. Well, so I was with the linemen, which is not everyone appreciates the line the way they should, as you well know. So I had, looks like 4 of my 5 made it. So Taylor Decker, Corey Lindsley, Jeff Newport, and Andrew Norwell, who's actually a Cincinnati guy.
Went to Milford, right?
I think he was Anderson.
Yeah.
So those were my 4 of my 5 linemen that I was the water girl for that I made it. Like I said, Braxton Miller was quarterback at the time. A whole bunch of names on that team, but I was just their water girl. Right. But it was still neat to
you were a very important part of them, not cramping, staying hydrated, and being able to play. So that's awesome. All right, back to Loveland. I'm pretty excited over the last, I don't know how many years I've been helping out with Loveland stuff. We have some awesome state-of-the-art facilities. Talk about a little bit about our training room and our weight room.
It's hard to fully explain how fortunate we really are. So I am entering my 7th year at Loveland, and in those 7 years, I mean, we've made some big changes in a really great way. I mean, we could not have done it without our boosters, Beacon, who I'm contracted through. We've had some really great support to really, really raised the standard. I mean, I've seen probably arguably the best of the best at Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's up there. And I've seen probably the worst of the worst when I worked out in Appalachia when I was at OU, and I worked out of a closet that had no temperature control, no windows, literally could fit one table in and just barely. I mean, I've seen it all, but we have, like I said, just within the past few years, had a lot of support to update equipment that was older than I am and get all new tables, 2 brand new ice machines. We only had one tiny little ice machine up at the stadium. So when Mr. Bryant came in, he saw me hauling just cooler after cooler of ice up the hill. And he's like, why don't we just get
You're moving
ice
cold
machine?
water.
What are we doing?
Right.
Well, that would be great. So with the ice machines, we've gotten some of the kind of more popular equipment that's come up in the recent years, the Game Ready that does like the ice and compression, really good for recovery. The big Normatec, the big boots that fill up with air to do compression.
Right.
And so we've been really fortunate to really upgrade our space. And we have a great amount of space is the other key. If you've ever been in the high school training room, even some of our bigger schools, some of our ECC schools, they're still working out of closets or old locker rooms or whatever. So to have windows, that's the biggest. Yeah. I mean, have a full wall of windows and a big space, 5 treatment tables, 3 taping tables, plenty of open space for rehab. We're really, really fortunate in the space and the equipment that we have.
Yeah, well, we'll just hopefully keep working to make it even better. I know that a lot of schools not try to one-up each other, but you see something at Milford, you see something at West Claremont, you say, we have to have that, or we need that. But the thing I've witnessed about Loveland is that we really think about what the core, either between the lines on the field is needed, or what's needed in the weight room, or what's needed in the training room. Yeah. Let's focus on what's really needed and not just put makeup on a pig to look nice. Right. Let's make sure we're taking care of the core sports first of what they need to compete and get on the field.
The other thing I appreciate is, I serve all of the sports.
Right.
And so when we're making these improvements, it benefits every single kid in this school, every single athlete, not just one program, not just one team, everybody, and even non-athletes. So, it's been really great. The things they invest in are the things that I think benefit the school, the community, the kids the most. And
I'll promote the boosters to get people involved, not just with donating money, but with your time. And that's one thing that the boosters really changed 4 or 5 years ago, was that they wanted to focus on every sport.
Yeah.
And, from girls basketball getting the rebound machine to volleyball getting the new nets to you getting new tables. It wasn't just give, girls soccer and boys football, and baseball, to give them everything. Right. Let's diversify.
I'll still give my pitch, especially in this heat. We'd all love an air-conditioned dome over the stadium. Just, anyone got a few million laying around, we'll gladly take that. And just throwing it out there.
There's all kinds of things. So speaking of you working for all the sports, which sport is the most time-consuming and which one's the least?
The obvious one here is football, right? We spend a lot of time with football. It's a collision sport. There's 80 plus kids in the program. It takes a lot of time, and that's just what it is.
Which sport takes the least? Is there one do you work with esports?
I don't.
Do you ever have a kid that comes to you that has a wrist injury?
Bowl team.
What?
I've been to one academic team competition. Blew my mind. I know nothing is what I learned.
Right.
Haven't had any injuries, but I have seen our swimmers, divers being off campus, I don't get to see a whole lot of them, but every once in a while they'll come in normally with a chronic shoulder type injury. Bowlers, don't see a whole lot of. They're pretty low maintenance.
I was trying to I forgot about bowlers.
Yeah, they're probably our most. Tennis tends to be, normally I get called to tennis for like a bee sting, a bag of ice. Tennis tends to be pretty low maintenance.
I got to put you on the spot. Which sport is your favorite?
Football Friday nights are something special, right? Yeah. I don't know that I'll say every day of the week football is my favorite, but on Friday nights, football is probably my favorite. I'm a big soccer fan. Just my husband played. We're FC Cincinnati season ticket holders, so I just love the sport of soccer. I was never coordinated enough to play it, but I love to watch it. And I've really gotten into lacrosse the past few years. My brother's dad, they're all ice hockey people, and there's some crossover there. The first time I watched, I'm like, I kind of get what's going on here.
Yeah.
So
no, that's good. Great answer. One thing that I get talking to a lot with different families is children lifting, and what age they should start lifting and how to do that. Do you have any comments or experience on that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say this is, I won't say too much because I don't think this is exactly my expertise, but I definitely, like I said, we need to break down muscle to build them back stronger, but I think there's a smart way to do that.
Yeah.
That's where we're very fortunate with Coach McGarity.
Yeah.
He's extremely smart in this field. But, I think really if you're playing high-level competitive sports, which really is all the way down to middle school these days,
Correct.
There needs to be some weight training, especially these kids who are growing and sometimes going through a very rapid growth. You see them shoot up from 4 foot nothing to 6 foot, and then they're string beans. Lifting weights is going to benefit them.
Correct.
But there's a right and a wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
You're not jumping into a 1 rep max. You're not jumping into Olympic lifts when you've never even done a body weight squat. And so I think that's, again, what Coach McGarity is trying to work on with our kids on, really from 7th grade on up, of good form, good mechanics. Because if you can learn that even as a 5th, 6th, 7th grader, that's going to help carry you into a healthy relationship with lifting weights, a positive way of building strength without necessarily raising any injury risk.
Right.
So I think there's a great benefit for any kid that's in activity, as long as the right way, it's done the right way. And that's where, if you're not sure, there are great resources out there, including Coach. But I think if you can learn about the basics and the form, in our rehab side of working out, resistance bands, you'd be amazed what a 5-pound dumbbell can do.
Exactly.
I'll have kids doing these exercises and they're like, really? To add insult to injury, I got like the colored one. So it's like a pink little 5-pound dumbbell. And I'm like, just wait.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to feel it.
Big lineman using a 5-pound pink dumbbell.
And all of a sudden their arm's shaking. And I'm like, there's a way to challenge the muscles without stressing your joints too much or without necessarily increasing your injury risk.
Yeah,
so
resistance bands can make you cry.
Yeah.
I've seen too many times through, raising 3 kids and all the youth sports I've coached. Oh, we bought so-and-so a $1,000 weight rack from Dick's and it's in the basement. And I'm like, you better be careful. You better, they're in 5th grade.
Right.
They can get as much out of doing push-ups and sit-ups as they can doing bench. And that's what's great about McGarity when you come up there as an 8th grader in the spring, when they invite the kids to come practice with them, they're not even using weights. They're using the bar. And it does 2 things. It teaches them the right mechanics, but it also makes them hungry.
Yeah.
And then they wake up in 2-3 years and they're doing 225 and they're freaking ecstatic, but it starts from there. So keep them out of your training room.
That's always the goal.
Yep. It's not just you. Tell us a little bit about the team that's behind the scenes that works on your staff.
Yeah. So we're very fortunate. We have 3 full-time athletic trainers in the Loveland City School District. So myself and Abigail Matthews, she joined us last year. We are full-time at the high school. And then Ben Wimmer is primary down at the middle school. And then he also comes up and helps us some at the high school. So we've got 3 full-times on the ground. And then we have such a strong team. We joined Beacon Orthopedics a couple years ago, and they, Dr. Maldonado and Dr. Cha are our team physicians. We also have Logan Chapin, who's unofficially like our team PT.
Okay.
But it's just having... Ashley Cruz is one of my resources. She's the lead PT over there as well. So having a whole team, like I said, I can't always tell you exactly what's going on. Or if you've been in the training room in the fall, we saw 60 kids yesterday in a 3-hour window. I can't be giving a lot of great one-on-one coaching and attention, but I can tell you, okay, let's get you over to Beacon, couple sessions. They'll get you in a program. We can continue it once you're here, or let's just go get the x-ray, just rule out the worst case scenario. And then once we know exactly what we're dealing with, we'll make a plan from there. So having that team behind us, the access has been unbelievable of same day, next day. We need a kid scene, they make it happen. And I couldn't be more grateful for that because like I said, I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah.
And even just us 3 ATs, having that whole group of resources for our kids is invaluable.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I, having been through it, when a kid's injured, the communication through final forms it's phenomenal. Just to be on the same page, getting the parents on their same page with what the program, what the plan is to get the kid back on the court or the field is great. When we were talking earlier, you mentioned the year-round athlete and the club athlete and how they can maybe improve a little bit with their overall experience. Elaborate on that.
Yeah. So sports are year-round at this point. Whether you're in club or you're just training with Coach McGarity or whatever that may be, sports are pretty much year-round at this point, which means so are we.
Yep.
But that's okay. I would rather be there for those kids. I just saw a club soccer kid. Like I said, I've seen some basketball kids. We're plenty busy with our fall sports, but I'll always make the time, even if I can give you 5 minutes and at least give you an idea of where we need to go from here. We'll always make the time for anyone. And the one thing that I don't know how we preserve, the one thing that I think is so valuable is the multi-sport athlete. And it's gotten harder. I mean, you'll hear kids kind of picking a sport when it gets to high school, and I don't blame them because it's hard. It's a lot to balance to be a multi-sport athlete anymore, but it's so important.
Yeah.
If you think about anybody doing the same motion, the same activity, 9, 10, 11, 12 months out of the year, like I said, you break down your body to get it stronger. At some point, it's going to be more breakdown than it is build.
Yes.
And that's where, I'd so much rather hear about the ache and the pain that's only been there a week than you come back August 1st and tell me this has been hurting for all summer.
Right.
There's only so much we can do at that point. And unfortunately, kids and parents and coaches don't like rest. You think you're going to lose your training, you're going to lose your conditioning. Rest is powerful. Right. And rest can be the difference of this little nagging shoulder injury was better in a week versus now you're in a surgery.
Right.
And it can be hard to convey that. But that's where, like I said, we are there and we are accessible year round. Even in the summer, we do sneak away a little bit in June just to refresh, but we're still there.
Right.
And we want to be there because we want to help these kids through these things. We want kids to be active all year long, but we want them to switch up what they're doing. We want them to, go a little bit lighter on the throwing this season and just focus on the lifting and the conditioning or get out of the pool and do the dry land or whatever that may be. And like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of good resources around me. And so I would much rather see you see the fall athlete in the winter thinking about next fall already.
Right.
The things that we can do, either injury prevention wise or recovery wise or building strength, these kids that went through that growth spurt and they're like, what do I do now? Those are things that we can't really do a whole lot in August, but we can do a whole lot December through May.
Yeah.
So that's where, I always encourage kids to speak up. And I think our coaches have really understood that, I'm not trying to baby them or pull them out every time they have an ache or a pain. I'm trying to keep them on the field.
Correct.
And if we can fix it, even like you said with your son, if it's hard to miss a few games, but if that keeps you out of a surgery, if that prevents a lifelong, nagging problem that he's going to have, it's so worth it. Right. So just ask. So there's no dumb questions with us because we're here to help and we want to keep your kids moving. So we'd rather hear from you in June and get your kid taken care of than wait till August and find out now it's too late and we have very limited option.
Yeah, it's comical, because there's some families that like to put everything on Facebook. And I've seen a couple times this football season where football kids are being rushed off to batting training right after football practice. And there's not one thing that they're going to learn in August hitting after they just played a full freshman season or JV season and then they played a summer ball season. They don't need to go to a hitting clinic in August.
They won't forget how to hit.
They won't forget how to hit. The body needs to take a break and they can do whatever they want, parent how they want, but it's comical that the people think that they have to hit year round to be able to hit.
Beyond the acute trauma, kind of freak injuries that happen, the biggest thing we see is overuse injuries.
Overuse. Yep.
By far, the biggest thing we see is inflammation at the growth plate, the tendonitis, the impingement, the overuse, stress injuries.
Yeah. The body's not made to do all this.
Correct.
So. And you mentioned that you'll see any kid anytime. Will you see 52-year-olds? Can I come in and say, hey, because we could have a list of everything that I have wrong with me, I'm sure.
I have been known to diagnose some of our coaches with old manitis.
Oh,
I'm not afraid to do so. But no, really, we can. I've seen our coaches, I've seen parents, I've seen teachers. And again, I might not be able to do personally a lot of hands-on one-on-one stuff with you, but I can at least point you in the right direction of don't waste your time going to urgent care. Your PCP is not going to be able to help you with this. Let's just call Dr. Chum. Because even if he says, oh, you just need an injection and you're just old, then, at least we got you some relief. And that's why we have this whole team. So like I said, we're really here for the whole community. Parents, teachers, coaches, everybody.
Well, I was kidding. Please, community, do not line up out Tara's door.
Kids get first priority.
Right, kids get first priority.
But you can always ask.
Well, thank you. So anything else you want to add to our conversation?
I don't think so. I think that was pretty good. I like I said, this is year 7 here in Loveland, and it's been a really special place. I'm hoping this is my lifer status.
Well, I can tell you that, from my experience, I mentioned a few times, it's awesome to hear that this is your lifer status opportunity, because we are a better place with you here. We're a better place with the communication you provide, the opportunities, and, Loveland's in a very challenging conference with not a lot of kids. We're very thin on a lot of teams. And so when we get past the starters, we need to have other kids that are there to participate. So if we can keep the starters on the field, that comes from you, your assistants, I think we're going to be better. I do have to ask one more question, because this will be a fun one. If you had to kill a hippopotamus, how many people would you recruit in your crew? And you cannot have any weapons.
Is there a limit?
Nope.
I mean, as many as I can. I'm not a fighter as it is. You can tell. I'm
That's why I thought it'd
really
be fun.
Intimidating and scary,
when I asked
as the
AJ
kids will tell
and
you.
Coach Damewood,
I need at least 500, 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, can we just?
Yeah, you can. Right?
Yeah.
I agree. Some people have said 15, and I've laughed at them.
No.
Because there's no way you can take down a hippo.
There's no way. Have you seen Fiona? I'm a regular at the zoo these days with my 1-year-old.
Yeah.
And now, are we talking a baby hippo?
No, we're not picking on Fiona.
Yeah.
We're talking.
If we're talking,
well, she's not a baby anymore.
What's Dad's name?
But
Tucker. If we're talking Tucker,
right.
Give me 500.
They have 6
minimum.
centimeter thick skin. They weigh 2,000 pounds. They don't kill for thrill, but they are one of the meanest on the planet. And it's a fun conversation.
And even, they can be underwater a long time.
Correct.
So can you even drown them? I guess.
You'd have to get as many.
I think you would drown before they would.
Correct. And you're going to lose people. And then Coach Sears had the best answer.
There.
You're an ex-runner. Coach Sears said, well, being a runner, I will outrun it. And then it'll pass out. I said, well, I don't know.
This can't be the slowest guy.
Supposedly they can be. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think they're pretty fast. I think they're deceivingly fast.
Correct.
But if anyone could do it, probably Coach Sears could. Right. But I'm not volunteering to join that group, because I will be one of the slowest men out. Yeah.
Awesome. No, just another fun question just to add, and you can thank my kids for thinking about that. Right?
Hippopotamus attacks.
Yeah, Charlie and Zach this summer, we argued about what it would take to kill a hippo, and I said, I'm going to put that on the podcast. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Tara. Appreciate it, and good luck this season.
Thank you.
This episode is sponsored by Cappy's Wine and Spirits in downtown Loveland. Tap room, bottle shop, meeting place, great music, gift ideas, and just a traditional watering hole. Cappy's has been rocking as the summer winds down, and they have helped lately with both school supply fundraisers and a Loveland Music Booster fundraiser. What a great time today talking with Tara about all her staff does to help our coaches, keep our players safe, and get them back playing as soon as possible. Peace.